Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Imperfectly Impactful podcast. I am so excited today because I have Nikki Cheak here with me. She is a wellness and holistic coach. Is that correct when I say
Health
that?
coach.
And I know this past year has been a whirlwind of a change. You've been giving clarity recently, but I'm excited to have you on here, Nikki, to kind of share a little bit about your story and what you're doing to help, in particular, moms. I know with their lives, making it better, more energy. And yeah, so welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Excited to have you. So it's funny, we met over Powerhouse Women Six Figure School, and we were able to kind of chat a little bit at one point. And I know we kind of clicked because I'm not a mom myself, but I have my sister-in-law who's a newer mom and many mom figures. And it's interesting, and I love where you really have dived into this mom world that I feel like there's not many coaches out there yet. It's starting to grow. I know I'm hearing more and more about people who that is their niche. But can you share a little bit about how you kind of got to this point? Why was coaching a choice for you? And then why moms? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my career in corporate, and while I was in corporate, I actually had the opportunity to be coached. And so for me, that was a big piece of wanting to grow in my career. I loved the idea of coaching. I was super excited about it and knew instantly that that's what I wanted to do. A couple years had gone by and I hadn't really made a move. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to focus. And then I was able to work for, once I left my one corporate company, I went to another company that really focused on coaching. Had the opportunity to see more, get more in depth, and understand more about the types of coaching that were out there. Um, I had a whole plan. I had gotten scheduled to be start my certification, and then a couple of days later, I found out I was getting laid off. And so for me, it was almost like the universe just hit me and said, "Okay, it's your time. Now you need to go out and do everything that you wanted to do to make an impact." Um, and as I started my journey to figure out who I wanted to serve and what I wanted to do, it became really clear to me that moms are an area that we don't take time for ourselves. There's always an excuse, there's always something that isn't going well, or we always need to serve somebody else. And so for me, I really wanted to help moms know that there's a better way to take care of themselves.
That's beautiful and so true. And I think any moms listening right now can relate to that because it's a constant going. There's always something one other on, whether it's the career and their job, their business, then the kids, and then you've got your husband or your spouse or partner. And it's just a never ending, I feel like, constant going, going, and going, and never stepping back and taking care of themselves. So, can you share a little bit about some of these? I know you're working on a current program and really kind of starting to ramp up things, but what are the things in particular you feel like moms need to focus on? Even just one or two, maybe that you see are most important that where they can start,
Yeah.
maybe adding those better habits or ways of taking care of themselves.
I think the first thing moms need to do is kind of have a whole mindset reframe, right? When, as moms, the first thing that comes to my head, and I've done it too, and so I'm too busy, right? So most moms are like, I'm too busy to start a workout. I'm too busy to eat healthy. I'm too busy to find a way to de stress. And so moms really need to reframe that and make sure that they're prioritizing themselves. So prioritizing self care. And this doesn't have to mean like taking a 5 hour bubble bath or a long walk or anything like that. It's about finding the ways to make it self care in your day, right? You can find ways to do it in your day. And I think that's the first place that moms needs to start is understanding that self care is not selfish. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I know that almost everybody has heard, right? On an airplane, you don't put your oxygen mask on the other person first, you put it on yourself first.
I
And
love that
so
analogy. I love that.
yeah. And so if you're as a mom, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to have any energy to take care of anyone else in your family. And so that's the first place moms need to start is really understanding what that self-care looks like for them.
And I have to just real quick right there mention it's so funny. I'm actually at one of my friends' houses right now, and she's a mom to a 19-year-old, and she was actually just telling me last night about the fact that when she used to work, and she worked at a bar and also had, like, a morning job as well, she would come home and immediately feel overwhelmed and like so
Mhm.
much was going on because she just came from work, drives home, walks in the door, and then there's her kid coming to her and running. And it's just this that never ending go. And she finally said she set a boundary with her kid and said, "Hey, when I walk in the door, say hi to me and then give me 5-10 minutes so that I can put my things down, I can get settled." And she said just that one change, setting the expectation for her child, and then also her having the 5-10 minutes always helped her the rest of the day, in the evening, and I had never thought of that before, but it's so true even in, like, meetings or getting into work, like, when you're just going into work, I had some people at one point mention that to same thing, concept. When you come into work, don't come in and say, "Hey, I have questions for you," and just, go off the bat. It's, "Hey, how are you? Hope you had a good morning. Hey, I got a question for you. Like, in a few minutes, can I come back?" Or so, allow people to get settled because it just changes your mindset and that energy for the rest of that day or whatever it's looking like.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting that you bring that up about boundaries because I think a lot of moms, the other thing that we do a lot is we say yes to everything. And so learning how to say no. I know that I am definitely not a master in this yet. I still say yes to a lot of things even though I know they should be a no, but I'm getting better at it. And that is a big energy drain because there are things that maybe you know that you really want to do, or maybe that you don't want to do, and they just drain your energy because they don't fully align with the values that you have and the things that you want to get done. And so, setting boundaries and learning to say no is a huge piece of energy, right? And I think that most moms just think that there's this long to do list and everything's got to get checked off. But when you learn to prioritize yourself, set those boundaries, and say no to things that aren't aligning, you suddenly feel so much better.
Mhm. Yes. And I think that's any aspect of life, because
Yeah,
even being able to say no at your job, and
100%.
even saying no at home, saying no to family, and I
Yeah.
know that's a hard thing sometimes too, and I've heard so many couples I know and moms and dads that they've had to set expectations with families too, because it was always, if especially when they're right down the road. When they're 5-10 minutes away, the parents wanna come by, they wanna see the grandkids, they wanna see, and they wanna see everyone, they wanna spend time together, but you have to be able to speak up also and say, "No, not today. No, not this week. There's too much going on," and setting the boundaries with those other individuals too. Because I don't think, and I know this from experience within my family, it's very difficult to say no to the family, and it doesn't always happen, and it's almost that awareness piece. They don't realize how much time that's taking out of their day when when grandparents come over to spend time with everyone, when really if they just said no for that one day, that could have added an hour, 2 hours back to where they could have been doing things with the kids that they needed to be doing or for themselves that they could have been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Okay, I think I cut you off at that one point. What was your second? Was there a second point of a tip for you,
Yeah.
to start implementing?
I think there's two other things that are, I would say, the top things besides prioritizing self care. And self care is really an all encompassing term. But the other things I would say that are really important for moms to do to have energy is movement, movement in their day. And I get a lot of moms who will tell me, well, I don't have time. I don't have time to move. I don't have time to exercise. But I think it's all about how you reframe your day. It's okay, so you can sit for 30 minutes and scroll on social media,
Mhm.
or you can go work out, or take a walk, or like play football or basketball or soccer with your kids, right? You can find those times, but what it is moms are not recognizing and again prioritizing themselves, and so they just sit there and mindlessly scroll. I know I've done it, especially during COVID, right? Like during COVID, I felt like I had all the time in the world and no time at all at the same time.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so little things that you can do from a movement perspective, like even just getting up and taking a 5 or 10 minute walk, that boosts your energy a lot. You can do squats while you're brushing your teeth, 2 minutes of squats, 2 minutes of calf raises. Um, do different, like while your coffee's brewing in the morning, do some lunges, do some jumping jacks. There's always ways to find movement, ways to fit movement into your day. It's just about recognizing the opportunities that you have. Um, and then the other one I would say for moms, especially, I think we get into a habit of wanting to eat on the go, or, running through the drive-through or grabbing just something, or anything, to eat. And I think really making sure that moms are prioritizing nutritious whole foods and getting those into their lives is going to change your energy drastically. And again, it goes back to the, well, I don't have time to cook or I don't have time to do this, but you always have time. It's just about how you reframe your mindset.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've always been, I'm not gonna say a health freak with my food, but I've gone through periods where I'm very strict on whole food versus allowing myself processed foods and things like that.
Yeah.
And recently, I decided to start making homemade granola bars, and I had put it off for a few months. And I mean, I put it off. I was like, it's gonna take too much out of my day. I don't have time. There's too much going on. All of a sudden, one day, I finally had like an hour, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna make them finally. It took me 15 minutes. I mean, yes, it takes an extra like 10 minutes in the oven or something. It took me no time, but like what you're saying is there are ways to eat those wholesome foods and to make the wholesome foods that don't
Yeah.
take you an hour, 2 hours to have to prep and, go through. Like, you can make very basic, yummy, tasty things for yourself, your kids, your family, and it still not take crazy amount of time. So, I've fallen in love with that recipe because with how much I'm traveling now, I can go home and know I can make it in 10, 15 minutes, and I have 12 granola bars, out of it for the week. So
That's amazing. I need that recipe.
I will send it to you. And if anyone else is interested, please let me know. I love the recipe. It's so easy though. But I
Yeah.
love that you hit on that one because I don't think anyone, when it comes to energy, whether you're a mom or anyone else, I don't think they think about the nutritious food and how that
No.
can weigh you down and drain your energy too. You've got to
Yeah.
fuel yourself with the healthy and the right things to keep yourself
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, one of my favorite hacks that I do on Sundays is I get my kids and we spend 30 minutes cutting up vegetables, and we'll do cucumbers and snap peas and carrots and peppers and celery, like kind of whatever we have on hand, and we pack them. And so I'll pack some in like a container for myself since I'm at home, and then some for my husband, but then a lot of them go into baggies, and then my kids can grab them for their lunches. They can pack them themselves. They can take what they want. But that 30 minutes, I mean, it literally takes no time at all. And we've got our veggies for our lunches for the week. And so that's a huge time saving tip, but also it's a good way to get your kids involved when you're trying to implement more of those nutritious foods too.
I was gonna say I think it's the bonding. You still get that time with your family and
Yeah.
the kids, but yet you're also helping yourself and them because you're showing them also how to build healthy habits.
Yeah.
And I guess that's another point we could probably touch on too is, and I would love for you, I guess, to touch on this, is the aspect of when they start taking care of themselves. So when
Mhm.
moms, if anyone starts taking care of themselves, how does that and the energy shift affect not just her, but everyone else in the family or that she's interacting with? Right? Can you hit on that just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when a mom has prioritized herself, starts taking care of herself, two things happen. One, she feels so much better, so she's able to give the time and the energy to everybody else that deserves. Two, kids start to take notice and they start to follow and they start to watch what you're doing, right? So if you're doing the working out, they're going to start mimicking that. If they're young, they'll still start doing stuff, right? If you're eating healthy, they're going to eat healthier. If you're finding ways to do some mindful breaks and learning how to do deep breathing, you can teach them too. And so there's all of these things that it definitely passes down generationally when you start to take care of yourself as a mom.
I love that, and I don't know, in my head, I start thinking of those memes, like, you see the little kid that's, like, next to
Yeah.
the mom or whoever is, like, on their hands and their feet up in, like, downward dog, all that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, but it's those are the things I think that is inspiring to see and to also know because knowing that what you're doing, it's not just impacting you and not helping you, you're passing that on to your kids too, and potentially your partner as
Yeah.
well. You can start influencing them too to start making better habits because it is a very, I don't know, it passes off. Energy does kind of move in very
Yeah.
interesting ways, and to see that happen is always fun.
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of how things started in my house too. So I started getting really more interested in being healthy, more holistic types of approaches, and nobody else in my house was there yet. So I just started dripping little things here, little things there, and things started to catch on. And now I would say our entire family is very much along this health journey too. So it's been fun to watch the evolution of where we started to where we are now.
Well, and then now you're able to share it with others too and
Yeah.
start helping other moms and take that into your business, which is that's I think the fun part about really kind of starting the business and getting going. Before we jump into your business and all these upcoming fun things that you have, I'd love to just touch on about habit stacking and
Mhm.
kind of that concept because I feel like that's one thing I personally actually have struggled with in the past that you wanna take on so much at one time, and you're like, "I wanna
Yeah.
do 5, 10 things," and you're like, "Oh, well, I can just stack them in a row," or you do really well for 3 or 4 of them, and then you start like, "Oh, I can add 2 or 3 more at a time." Can you talk about that process and maybe how long it can take, or not even how long it can take, but how long should they allow themselves? Because everyone's different, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. So can you hit on that a little bit about habit stacking?
Yeah, so for me, and what I like to talk to other moms about is really focusing on starting maybe one, two things depending on where they're at in their journey, right? So if it's they want to start eating more breakfast, just eating breakfast in general, there's a lot of moms I know who don't eat breakfast, so they're not getting that protein, they're not getting enough nutrients in their body in the morning. So for me, I would just tell them, "Okay, let's focus on that. Like, let's focus on getting that protein in. If that takes 2 to 3 weeks, okay, while you're doing that, maybe you add on, a sleep routine because it's at the end of the night. So maybe you also turn down, your phone, right? You turn off your phone earlier. So it's not necessarily for me where I'm building on one habit after another. It's also maybe taking 2 different things, um, and allowing them to work on them simultaneously. Because I think too, it's important for moms to not, I think when you start to work on one thing too much, so take nutrition, if you start to build on that way too much too quickly, then that's when a lot of people start to get overwhelmed and they're like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
When you start to do maybe nutrition and then maybe you take sleep and you're like, okay, I'm going to start a sleep habit and a nutrition habit. It's two different parts of your day. And so you're able to do those things a little bit as well. And then once you started one thing, then you can build on each of those simultaneously. So once you've gotten in your protein or you're eating breakfast, then maybe you need to add more veggies to your diet, right? So you add veggies into your smoothie that you're making with protein powder, right? So you're then able to build on that there too. And then you just, once you're able and really comfortable, I don't think that there's a set time because so many people have different structures, different schedules to their days. So for me, I don't love to give exact timing on when it truly becomes a habit. There's a bunch of different research that says, sometimes it'll take 21 days. Some people say it. I just heard the other day it could take 260 days for something to become a habit. And so I don't love to talk about timing just because I think it is so personal for so many people. But once you're confident, and I think this is the other piece, once you're really confident in what you're doing, or when you start to feel more confident, then you can do add on because you believe in yourself. And I think that self belief is so important, right? Because when you believe in yourself, then you know that you're making progress.
I love that you touched on that because it's a big thing, and I think I talked about it a few weeks ago, so I don't know if you've heard this episode or not. I gave up alcohol for 2024, but every other time that I've given it up, it's like the 30 days, it's the 40 days, and I've done multiple times where I'm like, "Oh, I'm giving up alcohol, and I'm gonna give up coffee, and I'm gonna do all the it's taking on too much at one time."
Mhm.
But the interesting thing this time around has been the mindset that I came
Yeah.
into this year knowing that I have these goals and these dreams, and I could not bring alcohol with me into this year because I want my focus to not I don't want that to prohibit or cloud everything else going on. And it's been easy. And it's that confidence I have that I can say no and I can do those things. So it's interesting you say that because I do 100% agree that it's that self-confidence and the belief that, yep, I can do it. I can say no, I can say yes, whatever the goal is or that habit is. When you
Yeah.
have that confidence, it's like a light switch of,
Yeah.
yep, I can do it. So I love that. I love that you touched.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I think that's so important is that the confidence piece is a big thing, but also when you're starting something new and you're building on it and you're getting there, you're also making a commitment to yourself. And when you are making a commitment to yourself and you start breaking it, then that's when you also start losing that self confidence, right? And then that's when you can't propel forward and you can't move forward because you've lost that self confidence because you broke the commitment to yourself. And so I think that's where it's really hard. And that mindset piece isn't so incredibly important.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Okay, I want to dive into some of your programs that you have coming up because I know you're in the midst. It's still all being tied together, developed fully, but talk a little bit about what you are wanting to bring to the table for moms and to really start helping them mm, take care of themselves and build their energy back up.
Yeah. So I am right now in the process of creating a program. It's called Exhausted Moms Energy Fix. It's going to be a 12-week group program with the option to do one-on-one if you're not comfortable in a group setting. There are going to be 6 modules right now, possibly more in the future. And we are going to focus on a lot of the things I touched on. First, starting with mindset, because I don't believe that you can move through a wellness journey without that mindset piece. Um, so we'll touch on nutrition, we'll touch on sleep, we'll touch on movement, we will touch on stress. I think stress is a big thing that moms have to learn to deal with. And we'll also talk about like what it means to set up a sustainable wellness lifestyle and healthy lifestyle for the future and how to do that. My program will cover all action steps. So these things are going to be very focused for moms and their lifestyle. There's been so many programs out there that I've seen that don't take into account moms who are working or moms who are not, and the lifestyle is just so different sometimes when you have other human beings that you're taking care of. And so really my focus is to make sure that everything that I'm doing fits into a mom's day, right? So that they can fit it into their day. They're not feeling guilty about taking time for themselves. And then they're able to build on that and sustain that through the course of their life and hopefully pass it on to their kids.
That's I think you are going to change so many people's lives, and I am so excited to hear you're doing this for moms because it's something that I think we talked about this right before. We're starting to see this
Yeah.
momentum come in of coaches and these programs for moms, but they're still very few and far between. And if you don't know the right people, people just don't know about them. They don't hear about
Yeah.
them as easily. And so I think it's amazing what you're doing and what you're bringing for moms. And to all the moms out there, you definitely need to go follow Nikki and you definitely need to go check out her program and everything. Just follow along because I think all your tips and tricks from not just this podcast, but that you share overall, I mean, is so impactful and really can make a difference, even just in a minuscule way. It doesn't have to be a big change or a
Mhm.
life change. It's just the little things that add up over time.
100%. It's the little things. And I don't want really anyone to get hung up on that journey of, well, I can't do this because I have to overhaul everything. But no, you don't. You just got to start somewhere.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, it's beautiful. So I like to, before we officially like wrap up and everything, I'd love to ask you if there's one more piece of advice that you could give, or even a piece of advice that you could have given yourself, 2, 3 years ago before you started this journey. What is that piece of advice that you would give?
I think it's what I just said. You have to start somewhere. And that small, consistent actions take time, right? Those are the things that lead up to a big transformation. And if you start today, in 8 weeks, you're going to see it. And you're going to feel it and it's going to be a part of you. right? Even if it's just small, and you'll continue to build up that self-confidence. So I wish that somebody would have told me when a few years ago, even 5 years ago, just start somewhere, because I think I would have been so much further along now than I was then.
That's amazing. Just start.
Just start.
Start. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in the show notes, but Nikki, please let everyone know how to connect with you, especially those mamas out there, so they can stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at intentional.wellness.coaching. And my website is intentionalwellnesscoaching.com. There is links out there to free resources and guides, as well as more information about my program, Exhausted Moms Energy Fix.
That's awesome. Oh, so exciting. I cannot thank you enough to have you on here. I hope not just the moms out there, but everyone else can take away some of these little nuggets because I do think it applies to everyone and everyone's lifestyle, that it just really doesn't take a lot and a big change to start really making an impact on yourself. And that's what this podcast, I really try to hone in on, is that it doesn't take a big change. It's just those little things over
Yeah,
time.
100%. I
Well,
love what
thank
you're
you
doing.
so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I'm so glad that I had you on. And yeah, well, I will let you go. So thank you again.
Thank you.